afternoon, everyone, and welcome to A Gathering Place hosted by the Gullah Geechee Chamber of Commerce. We have a fantastic show this evening, and we have some special guests, and we're going to talk about cultural appropriation of the Gullah Geechee community and why it must come to an end, and talk about some recent incidents and some other topics that our special guests have joined us for. So first, we want to welcome Queen Quet of Gullah Geechee Nation. Good afternoon, Queen.
Peace and blessings, Sister Marilyn. How honored to do?
Thank you. Wonderful. I'm doing great. Thank you very much. And also, we want to welcome Dr. Toure, Amir Jamal Toure. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes, ma'am, you are. Peace and blessings.
Very good. Yes. Very good. Thank you.
Yes. Now, Sister
Peace
Marilyn.
And blessings unto both of you.
Yes. Now, Sister Marilyn, you know this year the National Rice Month. So you did all the way up there in Georgetown, or even we little kids in the Carolina Golden Gap. So this is the perfect time that we get back together. It's the perfect time. We just
That's right.
Clear the rice and together. That's right now.
That's right. You know, people don't know that Georgetown is the rice epicenter of rice. So very good. We have to celebrate it. That's right. Ma'am. Very good. Thank you. Which is actually a good segue into our topic today. But I do want to talk about some things first, and then we'll dive into and show some pictures to folks. So my first question is, what is cultural appropriation? Now, and I'll let you two answer that. Well, I got somebody at the door. So what is cultural appropriation?
Well, first of all, I don't even use the term cultural appropriation because to me, it is exploitation. I don't feel that what I have seen people advertising, so to speak, and designating as appropriation is actually that. It's people teething, as we would say. They're straight out stealing African people's traditions, African people's lifestyles, and the way in which we formulate different things, everything from arts to foodways, and then using it to exploit it. So you take my stuff, you put your own package cover on it, and you sell it back to me and the rest of the world. And then you capitalize literally and figuratively on that. I don't see that as any different than the exploitation of kidnapping Africans from Alkebulan, bringing them to North America, stealing their intellectual expertise, using it for your personal gain, and then selling us and the items as commodities. I don't see it any differently. So I use the words cultural exploitation. Those are the words I use. Now, I don't know what my brother, Dr. Jamal Toure, gonna say, but that's just how I look at it.
But that's what I want to hear. Dr. Toure, what are your thoughts?
My thing, I tell folks, I just call it stealing. That's all it's about. It's just
teething.
Stealing.
Straight out teething.
Teething, it's stealing, teething. Hand sharpation. We say hand sharpation, bam. They steal. And so that's what's all for me. That's what part of it. And then, but also now I've expanded to something else. It's also about some mislaid property. Because sometimes we might mislay our property and then somebody else picks it up. And now this goes to those people who are stealing our stuff. But then also I want to address those people who are supposed to be a part of this leadership for us, be a part of the protectors of us, who now go and just give it away and just throw it down because they see no value in it also. So then that allows another element to not come in and jump claim. We say jump claim what actually belongs to us for themselves. And so I look at now, I'm going to say them non-Africans, Caucasians, Asians, who are stealing the knowledge, stealing the gifts that we have given in this area in particular, and how they not use that. But then also and I'm just be frank with you, to the Negroes who are also now who see no value in it. And that's why I say I wouldn't say Black people or African people, because I say with that we at least have some sense of respect with regards to who we are. That's why I say Negroes, because again they have been denatured. So because they're denatured, they have no sense of pride in that the way somebody might crack your teeth or spread him out funny. They have no sense, because then it's like they feel embarrassed. So now somebody else got to come along and get it, and then give it to you. Then you accept it. I'm like, wait a minute. So why must other people? Why must an institution? Why must a college? Or why must an organization come and tell you to have pride and go to culture?
And who you?
We right here, Georgetown, St. Helena, Savannah, Hilton Head, Brunswick, Nassau County, St. Johns County, Jamal County. We're right here. So naturally, we should be the ones pushing it. As I say, we're the ones because it's naturally ours. Guess what? And we value it. We're not going to mislay it.
There we go.
Yes,
we don't allow somebody to come in and steal it and then claim it for themselves.
Right.
That's right.
Right.
And one thing that bothers me, and I'm going to get into some more details, some examples, is how we allow other people to identify us. And let me give you an example. In Georgetown, white folks like to say Sandy Island is Gullah Geechee. Well, all of Georgetown is Gullah Geechee. But it's like they identify it, and you don't even talk to the people who are right in front of you who are Gullah Geechee. You know, and the entire county is Gullah Geechee, but they like to identify like one area,
one little pocket
for their own reasons. Yeah, where the whole county is Gullah Geechee.
They do it with Sapelo too. They do it with Sapelo. They try to say that Sapelo Island is the only Gullah Geechee area remaining Geechee place in Georgia. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I share folks, and that again, and now here go again part of this so-called group of people, so be the protectors. Here goes some of them. They buy into it and sell that too. That they now go and pimp the culture also.
Surely.
They are parasitic on the culture when that's supposed to happen. Then some of us sit silent because that's our friend, that's our church member, that's our relative. When they are doing wrong,
my church member.
Right. And that's why, and I tell folks, I say, who is the largest landowner on Sapelo Island? I say the state of Georgia.
The state of Georgia.
So why would they not have an interest in promoting that? And why would we stop and go and say, act like Savannah doesn't have a larger Gullah Geechee population in one neighborhood on any so-called island in Georgia? And why would places? Because and I'm gonna share this with you. And I've shared this, just being frank with y'all, because that's what it's about, frank conversation. And really,
we have to be frank.
Right.
And the stuff that has happened in McIntosh County, what happened with regard to them promoting Sapelo, it has caused almost a complex with regards to the other areas of McIntosh County.
Which is
folks in Yolonia, Darien, Briar Patch, all of them now, they got to try to claim and try to get some attention also. What am I saying? No, you are valuable in and of yourself. You
in and of yourself. Right.
That's what occurs.
Right.
And what it does, it creates division where there does not need to be division.
Right.
Thank you, man.
Yeah. And we need to understand where this is coming from, the roots of it. And we need to understand whether it's cultural appropriation or cultural exploitation or stealing, that there is an agenda behind it. And it's not just products, but it's also land. It's how we worship. It's how we prepare our food. It's who we are, and we have every right to ownership. The most beautiful thing about being Gullah Geechee is we created a way out of no way.
Come on now.
We made something out of nothing. We took different tribal languages, dialects, and English and Spanish, and we made a whole new language. That's a beautiful thing, a whole new culture.
Right.
We are now the indigenous people. Whether you are from North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, are the indigenous people. Right. And the beautiful thing is, within the culture community, there's smaller communities that have their own local identity.
Right.
But the wonderful thing is we have this common thread through all of us. I could go to Georgia and go to church and immediately know the worship.
You right there. You right there. Right there. That's right there.
You ain't nobody else has done that.
Right, you have to be primed like a suck pump. That are your people, so you know what to do.
That's right. That's right.
Outside, you could be getting lit out the car. You hear that? You say, "Oh, that my people." You know. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So and that's the part that we don't respect. It's like, okay, when you mention a thread, my mom and I have been sewing quilts the last couple of days. That's what we do. We still do handmade quilts, just like Sister Bunny, who introduced all, and we connected through her. All right, God bless the dead, from our Wisdom Circle Counselor Elders for the Gullah Geechee Nation, Bunny Rodriguez. We sold quilts too, but she did storybook quilts, but we still do the traditional on the hand, and she would do the machine. So we would always talk about that. But that thread hold it together. It don't matter which kind you do, the thread is what hold it all together. But you got each piece from each place that tell a different story, but it's one family. The whole thing got to come together. I tell people it's like a painting. Everybody loves Gullah art, right? So now, but that it don't look like nothing to you when the first little dot of color get on there. It's not until the whole picture is there that you say, wow, that's worth a lot. How much you want? So that's the thing. We have to realize the whole picture is here now. And other people looking at us going, wow, that's worth a lot. How much you want to take our land? How much you want? Take your recipe. How much you want? Take you, okay? And exploit you. Use you as a commodity to entertain the tourists while they go off with all your other stuff. While they pack it up and leave with it. Yeah.
While you distracted, they take the rest of the stuff. And we got to know who we are. And one of the things I'm finding is so many of us, we don't say I'm Gullah because we don't see it. It's because we're in it. We are Gullah.
That's it. We live it.
We don't use it as a label or the mascot of it. We are Gullah. So when people say Gullah, we're not we're not recognizing it, but we need to recognize it and own it.
Own it.
And what I share with people this, I said that, like, for instance, people do one of our journeys in Savannah, I do presentations, I discuss that people here are going to call themselves African, African-American, Black, or Gullah Geechee. We're interchangeable. But what we have to do, we have to educate our people with regards to that and let them be sensitive. And I tell people, I say, and don't come here, because if people here go and say they're Black, don't dismiss them with regards to not being Gullah Geechee.
That's right.
If you are so intelligent, then you understand that. But I say, if you're not intelligent and you're just here basically because you want like a human zoo, I said that's not who we are. That's not what it's about. And our culture is not that. But I share this with people that what we're looking at what happened 100 years ago. In particular, I told this, I said 100 years ago, this is where there's a concerted effort being made by Caucasians and African people with regards to the educational systems to now begin to dismiss us from having that sense of pride in being Gullah Geechee or acknowledging and I was going to say our Africanness, because I tell folks at the turn of the century, the 1900s, people were still engaging in that Africanness. So as time continued on, they're still engaging in Africanness, but then what we thought, some of us wrongly, they felt that for us to be accepted fully into the society, we must become homogenized.
Right, and assimilate.
I had someone who, and she said, Jamal, we came from homes here that were bilingual homes. See, now I understood what she was talking about, but here, you will not find folks who are in their 80s and their 90s saying things like that, because again, and Sister Marilyn, what you were saying, that again, because they're not identifying, and with them, it's still a part of that degree of shame that has been infused in their minds via education. So she said, we came from homes that we spoke Gullah, and when we went to school, we spoke English. She said, but later on, what happened, she said the school stopped making us stop speaking Gullah.
Gullah.
I said, so now, and what we're talking about, and I used to say it was an 80-year gap, and that's when I said that 1920 up until what we now look at now, the 2000s, that's when now we are not saying, hey, we got to take this back. And that's why I said that mislaid property of us, that's what happened. That it has been going on. And then guess what you do? You now have people who've been trained in that system not to love, not to like, not to to appreciate, respect their culture and their history here. And then if they move here, not to respect, not to love, not to acknowledge any of this. And so now we have trained people, as I said, from first grade through 12th grade, not to have an appreciation. But I said, guess what's happened now? It's now pre-K, kindergarten, 1st to 12th grade. Not having any appreciation, having no value. And now what happened? Those folks become parents. And they now become grandparents. And so we all detach from that. What I'm saying, no, we must get back to who we are and claim it and hold on to it and cherish it. And don't let other people come and not devalue who you are, devalue what your community is, devalue your the names of your community, your people, and the people who've done things. You clamoring like they got it all, but in actuality, they want what you
have it all.
And then they'll claim it for themselves, and then you stand on
you best believe it. Because what they say, one man's junk is another man's treasure. So when we throwing out and mislaying our stuff, somebody out there with a truck picking it up down the road.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Look like Sister Marilyn froze right there.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go froze. Yeah, but definitely
I'll some more because and this is what I've seen, and that's why this disconnect that we have. Because the funny thing happened. This happened about 5 years ago. We're doing the journey, and when I said the same thing I shared about folks, I say when you come into this area from Jacksonville, North Carolina, down to St. Augustine, most people are not necessarily going to say Gullah Geechee.
They're not.
They're going to say those other names. So they say those other names. Don't discount them. And so, when I said this, these sisters from Columbus, Ohio said, Jamal, guess what? We were in Jacksonville. And we had asked, and this is in Jacksonville, Florida. We had asked them, we want to see Gullah Geechee people. Well, she said, one of the sisters said, and when we had asked that question of the folks in Jacksonville, they want to say, you got to go to Georgia for that. But what I had told them, I say, now check this out. I say Jacksonville, Florida is the largest Gullah Geechee city in the world.
Gullah Geechee city in the world.
I said, but most of them don't identify with it.
Thank you.
Said,
that's right. My show. I got to thank you.
That's when somebody else can come and exploit it. And I told them, I said, that's it. So yes. Said, now you having the intelligence, you know how just to flow with it. And then
that's right.
When Queen Quet had this brother, and Sister Elder Carly Town had a brother come from France, who was a part of basically like the National Geographic magazine for France, and we went into it. But I called the first Gullah Geechee community all in Georgia, and so when he went there, he began to take photographs. He said he talked to this girl, and he said, "You're right. She didn't say she's Gullah, and she said that she's black. But when I asked her questions about certain things, he was like, that's Gullah Geechee."
She knew it.
So that said, you're right. And I think so, just like Sister Marilyn, again, that's what it is. So you have other people trying to tell us who we are. I'm like, no, you let somebody tell you. You tell them who you are.
That's right.
Then they accept it. If they're not intelligent, then you still put them in their place.
That's it.
I apologize. My internet was acting up, but it's back now. They were actually in the back working on it. So I'm back. But I want to say that I'm glad the three of us are here because geographically in our family history lineage, we come from different backgrounds, but we're all Gullah. And I tell people as I go out and about with the Gullah Geechee Chamber of Commerce, and in particular white people, come up to me and say, speak Gullah. And I tell them, first of all, I tell them, I'm not a mascot. Okay? Exactly. So I don't speak Gullah on command.
On command.
Second, I am not fluent in Gullah.
Gotcha.
And it's for the reasons that you guys were citing, and for historical reasons. Because after the Civil War, when the abolitionists came down, that's bad English. And they, just like they did with the Native Americans, they taught it out of us. And I am a result of that, a family where, but I speak when I'm with my family and friends.
Right. It's
my speech, I call it a dialect because we pick it up and we speak differently. But it would be insulting for me to say I'm fluent when I know I'm not. To the culture.
I got you.
Now I can learn it, relearn it from childhood because we always. I mean, even now I speak part of it, but I would not say I'm fluent. And I tell people, do not ask me to speak Gullah because I'm not fluent. That doesn't mean I'm not Gullah because we are more than a language. We are a culture. Because I can cite what I do now, how I cook, how I eat, how we worship. Even the example I give when my aunt, who's 83 now, was born, her father died the day before she was born.
Wow.
And they had him sitting up in the front of the house. And my grandmother gave birth to her in the bedroom.
Wow.
They took the baby and passed him over.
The casket. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm like, you can't tell me. You do not have a right to come in and tell me who's Gullah or Geechee. When my whole family is from Beaufort to Charleston, to Ediston, Horry, and Georgetown. We are in Georgetown because this side of the family. But I trace my roots up and down the coast. You know, and it really bothers me. This is why we need to have these conversations.
Right.
And we do have them within the room. Yeah. But we need to have it in public so we can have ownership. Like we tell people, we know who we are. And some of us need to relearn who we are.
Who we be.
But we need to take ownership of it.
Right.
Because other people will come in and, as you said, they'll take it and run with it.
And run. And
they are. They making money off of it.
Right. And some of we standing by silent. Unnecessarily so. And then what is sadder than that though? What's sadder than that is the three of us right here, fully Gullah Geechee. On both sides we family. Fully Gullah Geechee. But dang a yeti from we. I don't fool up with Maryland. I ain't gonna care what I say. Who Jamal. I ain't gonna fool up with him neither. Can't get on my nerve, all kind of. But a bumper come. Oh yes, I have this book that seems to be about these people on the Sea Islands, and we're going to use this as the text for our course. They line up and go say they want to learn what that is from these other people because we right there. But see, the difference is, like you said, we have our own circle. That circle might be underneath the oak tree. That circle might be at a crab crack. That circle might be at the friend's house. That circle might be right in Dr. Toure class, in my class. It could be in a meeting at the Chamber of Commerce. But they're looking for this Western structure that they've been assimilated into, not realizing it creates automatons. It actually dumbs down the people so that you believe whatever you're programmed to believe. You don't even believe what you see. You look in the mirror and don't believe what you see. Yeah. You yeti yourself. You yeti your mama. Hunter yeti your grandma. You hunter yeti your cousin, your auntie. You don't believe nothing because that ain't what was on TV. That ain't what's on Facebook. So you don't want to believe. But we right here. Yeah. This is the reality.
And we don't. You're right. We are right here, and we don't need TV to say that. We are people of the land and the water.
Right.
TV is just a tool of communication. That doesn't make us who we are. We are here. We are of the land and of the water. That's
Absolutely.
Who we are.
That's it. And look at it. Look how much we're that. They used to have us on the money. Remember? The Confederate money had us on it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So where's the value? That's the value.
We don't need Harvard. I would say we don't need Harvard to represent us. Talk about, we don't need Harvard. And I know that it's stepping on some toes right now, but we don't need Harvard to be the place to validate our language and other stuff like that. Because see, what people are not talking about when they talk about cultural exploitation, cultural appropriation, cultural stealing, that's what Harvard is doing and other institutions. But everybody else is going to chill. See, because then we have people claiming like, "Whoa, they teaching Gullah at Harvard," and I
wow. And big whoopty, like we weren't teaching way before that.
Right. And I'm saying I need you to go and like think about what's going on right now.
Please.
I think that you might need to ponder if Harvard is not teaching this. What is that about? It is about when y'all talk about cultural appropriation with regards to Beyonce. I'm like saying, hey, that's the same thing going on now with regards to our culture. So I say, I don't applaud Harvard doing that. I don't applaud any of the institutions doing that when it's not taking the fullness of the respect of the people. Because I tell folks often, the people are the experts of the history and the culture. The people. Yes. You got to value the people. You got to go into Georgetown. You got to go into Monk's Corner. You got to go into Somerville. You got to talk to them for them. And then you bring them to not talk to say, hey, just share something with y'all. Because we had someone came during the time of the festival, came to Geechee Kunda Town Museum. She's at Geechee Kunda. Then what happened? I'm going to Defusky Day. The next day to Defusky Day, she comes over. I introduce her to some of my family members. She's not meeting people. She talked to Sister Louise Cohen. She goes back out to California. Then guess what? They not have her teaching a class on Gullah Geechee culture.
Are you kidding me? Here we go.
So, as Sister Louise and I said, she said, Jamal, the gal sent me an email, thanked me. She thanked me for what we did. But I said, but guess what? Why didn't she then make an effort? The same people that she was talking to, why don't you make some arrangement to have them come from here?
They're not you come there. Exactly.
But no. But when I tell folks, when you are in academia, you do stuff like that. When you are a cultural parasite, you do stuff like that.
Parasite.
When you are about making money off of our people based on capitalism, because again, creating the nice Gone with the Wind type history, so then that way we are still in this lowly position. You do stuff like that. So I'm like,
that's right.
No, it's time out for that. And that's why I say, no, I don't applaud Harvard and any rest of them if they're not truly using the mass of the people and that. And I'm just saying this right now because some of us will have no problem selling our birthright for a few pences.
Thank you. That's right.
And it has happened. I want to give, thank you, Jamal. This really kind of segues us into some examples I want to give. And I know y'all know which one I'm coming up with. Gullah Gourmet is a prime example. And I wanted to bring this up because even trying to speak the language on the packaging, not only is it bad enough they're using Gullah, it's Geechee Peachy Cobbler. So they're even trying to take the language and put it on the packaging. You know, and this is just some other examples. Now, I just want to show the picture of the owners because they don't look like us. That's all I got to say about that. They don't, but they making money off the culture.
And been doing it for decades.
Yeah, yes, especially Gullah Gourmet for decades. Geechee Boy Mill, I do have to cite that they have come out. They're rebranding their name, but I want to give this as an example. Geechee Boy Mill. They've made money off our culture, and this is I don't think that looks like us either. You know, and then we have Geechee Grits out of North Carolina. Now they contacted me because I released a statement calling for the end of cultural appropriation. They have since pulled this off of their website, their product line, and they're rebranding it. And I didn't even know about them in North Carolina.
I didn't know that one.
They're in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, which is not near the ocean.
All the way inland.
Yeah, inland. And they contacted me and apologized and said they pulled it and they're rebranding. And the most recent egregious example is palmetto cheese.
Yes.
And I actually have to confess, even this is in Georgetown County. That's a sister, Miss Berchella Brown, and God bless the dead. She died this past April, but this has been around since about 2007, and these are the owners,
right?
And
when he denied that he teach the recipe, you know, he online to deny that he teach the recipe from sheep.
Well, there's also videos and historic record out there because the good thing about online social media, it stays with us.
Absolutely.
and their videos that out here saying it's her recipe that they're using. All right. So this gonna work out. That's all I'm gonna say. That this is gonna work out for the family. But you know that does not look like us. It is the disrespect to us. The disrespect, and historically, we have been exploited, and we don't see the money from this. And a lot of these companies are private companies, so you don't get to see their books.
Right.
But
so you know how many millions of dollars they have
actually making. And if they've been in business, as you say, Gullah Gourmet has been in business for decades. You're not in debt. You're not in business making $5 a year.
And especially not if you have a location downtown Charleston. You know so well with that little corner store on Market and Charleston, ain't nowhere in the world that you wasn't making millions because you wouldn't have been able to sustain your business and operate at that location all the time.
That's right.
But the tourists thought because it was downtown Charleston, the Sweetgrass Basket artists sit right across from the doorway, that this gotta be a real Gullah Geechee place. And they had a poster board of a black woman when you walk in the place. So again, the mind made the link saying, oh, so it's the black lady. But I'm like, the first day I walked in that city, it was some Bucker people think. Because them word wrong, they ain't the fuss how we talk. They look like some Uncle Rima story thing on their bag. Then I see who gonna take the money. But when I see one Bucker that took the money, I know ain't the we stuff. I said, so this ain't the none of we thing. Let's get out you. And we left. And I asked people from Charleston, I said, who on that place? Oh, that Bucker lady. I said, why y'all let that happen? Well, we got you know them people do whatever they want. Ain't no. If you stop it, it'll end. You got to put an end to things. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never has and never will. What demand have you made? Have you demanded it stop? So I was like, nah, I'm writing her whatever. The coalition wrote her. She just said never responded. Never responded. Geechee boy Grismill, I met him. He was honored to meet me, but I was like, but this is a little off here. Why are you the person? I said, I was wondering who owned that place whenever I was driving the island. But it's you? Oh, yes, ma'am. Queen, it's so honored to meet you. No, it's not honorable to me that y'all doing this stuff. This is not your culture. This is not your culture. It's very disrespectful. And then when I point out, do you not realize in Charleston County, that's where we were sold? So now you think by taking our images and selling it on your packaging, that's not the same thing, that don't harken back to enslavement, especially when, as you said, Sister Marilyn, you getting all the money. You using our bodies and our features and everything, our imagery,
and our language to make money.
But you get all the money.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah. And as I say, there is no unity without equity.
Come on.
We don't want charity. We want equity. Equity means don't give people houses and say we did right by you. You need to give them equity in the business so they could go buy their own houses. That's how much you make. And pay their own taxes and everything. And pay for their own funeral.
And have
just showing up. Thank you. And allowing us to control our land. So we don't want charity. We want equity. And people need to really get that. And our own people need to start understanding that. Stop accepting charity and start demanding equity.
Absolutely.
Go get your lawyer and go get a contract.
Yes.
And too many of us have been taken advantage of because of lack of knowledge of who we are, but also lack of knowledge of the capitalistic system in which we operate.
Absolutely.
And you got to learn the game so you can play the game.
And you can win the game. And you can win the game.
And win the game.
Yeah, and one of the problems Dr. Toure is an attorney himself. He's teaching law right now. One of the things he and I have talked about, and I just about done pull my corkscrews out over the years, is that our people won't even come to us and ask for advice. Like, come to one of us. If we say, let us look at that contract. And then they say, you ain't got no contract. Hold it, stop right there. You need a contract. You need something right. But I've been naughty, man, so long. It's saying a do by right by me. That way say. They ain't mean that way do. So in the week, we do oral contract. We the oral people. Them people in the Western need paper. If ain't they down on the paper, it ain't happen. So you got to get the paper to get the paper. You got to get the paper to get the paper.
To get the paper. Mm-hmm. Very true. Very true. Dr. Toure, any words that you want to say right now? You look like you want to say something, so go ahead. Oh, we got the comments are blowing up too. Go ahead.
Well, I was listening to Queen Quet and listening to you, Sister Marilyn. I think that it's an all-out assault, as we realize, with regard to this. But then that's capitalism. That's what capitalism is about.
That's what it is.
And right now, we know another element to this is with regards to cultural tourism. Because with regards to heritage tourism, because that is not, they want the experiential stuff. So those are the things that come into play. And what is the greatest commodity for us in this area is Gullah Geechee culture.
Come on.
I have to begin to infuse that value into our children, because some brothers had asked me this question when I was on the show 2 weeks ago, like, must we educate our own? Yes, we must educate our own. And I said that I say even if they're going to the public school system or private school, we still have to do like the Jews do and have our own Saturday schools if maybe. That's why here we have the Jewish Educational Alliance right here in Savannah, and I'm like that is appropriate, because again, they can still go ahead and teach history and culture,
right?
So that way the children have a value. With us, what we do, we just give our children to other people. We just give it away, just give them away. And those people are going to try to teach your children to have liberation, to have freedom, to have economic empowerment. That's not what's going to happen. Because again, and I had this conversation with an attorney today, that he said, all we're doing, Jamal, is setting up a system so that now our people are just in service industries, not even running the service industries, that now they are the machines with regards to the service industries. That's it. That they're the ones at the lower rung, when actually it's our culture and our history. So I'm saying, again, I'm sitting down with attorneys. We're sitting having this conversation. I'm sitting down with brothers and sisters who have some awareness, and people looking at it. I'm like saying, We gotta educate our people about and have the value with regards to appreciate. As you said, Queen Quet, they don't want to listen to some of us when we're not telling you the stuff. See, I'm telling you out of love, out of respect, and out of kindred, out of kinship. That we're kindred spirit. That when I see each one of you, I know that your ancestors survived something that no one else has ever seen in the world. That I know for a fact. So when I see that, then I know you and I automatically got a connection. And then I should want the best for you. I should want the best for you. I should want the best for myself and all others. That when I see you, when I wake up in the morning, I have appreciation of who I am, and I love me. So guess what? So when I see you all, I love you too. And guess what? I want the best for you.
Because you are me. You are me, and I am you.
And
Amen.
So what happens now? We need to come together. So here go. We have some of us who are right here, right now, who have some economic power, got some economic dollars. We got the dollars, but guess what? We don't want to work with one another.
Right? And we don't spend them with us. We don't spend them with us.
And we leave this vacuum, this open now for somebody else to come and exploit. Why are we experiencing gentrification in our communities? Like,
that's another topic.
Like it's an epidemic. It's an epidemic.
It is.
It's a pandemic.
It is.
So, and it's
a pandemic.
Urban areas in towns. We're experiencing this when there was some of us in these same towns, in these rural areas, and in these cities who had a few dollars that they could have gotten that property. Because some of us did at a tax sale. Some of us knew that we had a few dollars, we could do that. Right. Some of us making over $100,000 a year. And I'm just pointing out, it's a group of people right here in Savannah, but they'll also be in Charleston, in Jacksonville, and in Brunswick. They're making over $100,000 a year. That
$100,000 a year.
They came together. They could have bought up some of these properties. I told an attorney this morning. I said, and they could have had affordable housing, income-based housing right there. They could have done that.
That's right. That's right. And they had money for generations. You build generational wealth.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you.
The other people step in. They now acquire the property, and then they acquire the community's name. So if that was
here we go again.
Again, they got the community name because that's when we say the stealing is not even the community names. That again. So what we know as being Currytown is no longer the Currytown that we know.
They change them up.
That's right. And then
they gentrify the name.
Gentrify and then call them plantation. If you keep Currytown, you put plantation on the bottom.
Yeah. Well, I would go as far as to say the word Low Country is actually gentrification of Gullah community, Gullah culture. Low Country is gentrification.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and most people don't realize that. I had someone ask me, I put that out there, and I said, Low Country is gentrification. And what do you mean by that? I said, it's based on the Gullah culture.
Right.
If nothing happening in 2020 would be happening if what didn't happen before 1865.
Happened. Right.
This is when we cut down trees to put out these developments, these plantations, we are cutting out new growth. Because the enslaved cut down the old growth and replanted. And people don't understand that. You cannot disconnect what happened in the past from what's happening right now. So that means you're still benefiting from our free labor of our ancestors.
Absolutely. But guess what, Sister Marilyn? What we others belong with? They say if Hunter ain't know where Hunter did from, Hunter ain't going to know where Hunter to grind. It's simple as that. And so a lot of us don't want to study our story, don't want to hear it. If we boogieing and we partying, we can have thousands there. But if we're doing a lecture on our story, it's 10 or 20 of us there. Or maybe 100 at a festival and that kind of stuff. So that's the issue that we got to deal with. I love what we've been saying here. It's about unity. It's about us owning our story. It's about us economically empowering our families and our communities from our story so that we build multi-generational wealth on this same land, on this reclaiming this land and sustaining the ownership of this land that we have. And so that's what we got to do. And I just got to say this before we go, because I got to go talk to lawyers right after this. In fact, to keep us on this land in the Gullah Geechee Nation. This is the thing. We got to stop this, what we call crabs in a barrel or crabs in a basket syndrome. If that we got this thing of,
absolutely,
that ain't my friend or that ain't my cousin, so I ain't gonna support that one. No, if it Gullah Geechee, it for all of we. If it Gullah Geechee, it for all of we. And we have to respect that and work together, chilling, don't you get weary. That's how we had a great camp meeting in this your promised land called the Gullah Geechee Nation, from Jacksonville, North Carolina to Jacksonville, Florida. Stop being hateful to one another, because we be Gullah Geechee anointed people. Ain't no hatred in that. It's all blessing. We got to come together in unity. And I'm so proud to be here with y'all today. Y'all ain't know I could shout and say, if I'm going to go out a friend, I didn't, what? Okay then. Y'all ain't know.
Thank you, Queen Quet. You are correct. And I just want to say this, and you and Dr. Toure touched on it. If we cannot see the humanity in ourselves, I cannot see it in anyone else.
That's true.
And we as the Gullah Geechee people, we are global. Just claim it. We are global. We are from West Africa. We got cousins in South America.
Absolutely.
People need the islands,
the Caribbean,
England, and North America. And when we come together, when we realize that and come together, we are a force to be reckoned with. And we need to remove the westernization from our minds.
That's it.
Listen and be silent and listen to the ancestors, because they talking to us every day.
Every day.
They talk to us every day. We just need to be silent sometimes and listen and start growing.
That's it.
And re-see the humanity in ourselves. Because that's where it started. Africa's where it started from.
Yes.
Right.
You know, that's where it started from. And we didn't come here enslaved because we were weak. We were enslaved because of the knowledge and the strength that we had. And it took so much to take and create this whole new culture and connect us. That's a beautiful thing when you could go to Savannah, or you could go to Jacksonville, Florida, or to Wilmington, North Carolina, to Jacksonville, North Carolina, and immediately have those connections. No one else did this.
Nobody.
No one else did this.
That's right. That's right.
You know, so we need to take it. And the abundance, we already have the abundance.
That's right.
We just gotta own it.
We gotta own it. So you know what? We gotta get away from assimilation and get to nation. Get away from assimilation and get to nation. If we can get there, we would have accomplished the thing that our ancestors died for. And that is why you see on our national flag, those are human bodies intertwined. That's how we still need to be rooted together, that nobody can get between us. So if somebody coming from Maryland, they coming for me. If they coming for Dr. Toure, they coming for me.
Right.
So then I ain't about to let them get them. Right. You see what I'm saying? So we don't need to be killed by friendly fire either. And Dr. Toure, I know you love quotes, and you said it before. You said it ages ago. You said, when there is no enemy within, you ain't got to worry about the enemy without. You see? So that's the thing. And so we got to deal with that. But that's our homework, literally, Sister Marilyn. So I'm so glad that we got a place to gather in so we can start doing this homework.
We do. We just need to do the homework. Dr. Toure, I know, Queen Quet, that you have to go. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to wrap up with Dr. Toure. You go ahead and take care of business. And we will see you. We're gonna bring you back, because we got to talk about gentrification.
And because that's a whole nother hour, 2 hours.
That's a whole nother hour. That's a whole nother hour. But we'll be seeing you. Peace and blessings to you.
Blessings. Love you, Dr. Toure. We'll be seeing each other again.
Queen Quet, no, Savannah is the capital of the Gullah Geechee
Nation. No, it ain't. Don't let me tell you storytellers. Let's go. Mr. Maryland, don't let me storytellers.
No. It's in South Carolina.
I can leave a switch for him.
You gotta go.
Okay.
All I know is Georgetown is the epicenter of rice.
Yes, Georgetown is the epicenter of rice. I agree with that.
That's right. Charleston,
I agree with what Marilyn said. I don't agree with Dr. Toure. See, we were unified until.
All right, Queen Quet, we'll be seeing you. We'll be in touch.
All right, peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings.
So, Dr. Toure, we're going to be wrapping up soon. I want to remind everyone that you are watching A Gathering Place, hosted by the Gullah Geechee Chamber of Commerce, and I knew this show was going to be fire. And it is. It is something that we need to talk about. So, Dr. Toure, anything that you want to add? It looks like you might be locked up a little bit. Oh, there you are. You're back. All right. anything that you want to add that we need to hear about? All right, Barbara, thank you very much. We are rooted together. All right, and I'm hoping Dr. Toure can come back here. It looks like he's locked up a little bit. Dr. Toure, I know y'all, we've been having some rough weather. Oh, looks like we lost him. But everyone, hopefully he can come back on, and I'll just talk a few minutes. Oh, I want to also show everyone that cultural appropriation it's not a new thing. This has been happening for a while. And even in 1941, Doris Lee, an actress, came to the Sea Islands, and it became fashionable. Cultural appropriation was fashionable, and I see Dr. Toure is trying to get back in as soon as he gets back in. Hello.
Hello.
There you go, Dr. Toure. I was showing some more pictures. These are from 1941, when an actress, Doris Lee, came down and copied the clothing of the Gullah Geechee and made it a fashion line. This is 1941. Here's some more pictures right here. Took some pictures, and she met with the people within the Gullah communities, the Sea Islands, and went back to New York and created an entire fashion line. So cultural appropriation, exploitation, stealing is not new. It's not new. I think what's happening now is more people are paying attention, and has more people learn about their culture and community and embrace it and own it, take ownership of it. That means we're going to have to step out and demand the end of cultural appropriation. And the Gullah Geechee Chamber of Commerce, we have already done that. We have made a statement about 2 months ago that we demand individuals and companies to cease and desist the use of the terms Gullah Geechee and or Geechee, and especially spelled Geechie, because that's a sly way of trying to get over, and we see that too, and or imagery of members of the Gullah community. And of course, with the end of cultural appropriation, we promote people to increase and continue their spending money in Gullah and Black-owned companies. That's the flip side of it. Now you got to make the investment in the community. Spend your money with Gullah and Black-owned individuals, Black-owned companies. All right, that's how we've got to do it, so we can have generational wealth, so we can keep our land. You got to figure out how to keep your land and pay those taxes, because this is the world we live in. And so Dr. Toure, any thoughts that you may have?
Well,
regarding,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'll let you finish.
I'm done.
Say that even when you talk about and that's in the 40s, but I've gone through and said that it goes back even further than that, because we look at even 1800s, something that the Uncle Remus tales. People don't realize that Joe Chandler Harris also had a Gullah character too. It's just that what they go and say in 1800s, they said that particular character, because of the Gullah language, that some people didn't accept that as easily. So with regards to Uncle Remus, so that was about appropriation of the culture, and exploitation of the culture and the stealing of the culture. But then it goes back to even with regards to our medicine faith, that's our herbal knowledge. That in Charleston County, South Carolina, you have, and there's a family that's still there right now. One of the Buckra doctors there in the family, he studied the Africans and the captive Africans on the plantations to now see what they use with regards to healing Africans there on the plantation. There's the herbal knowledge, medicine faith, the herbal knowledge. So and then he goes to present a paper in New York about this. So then we have somebody else who goes to New York on another occasion where now he's presenting, talking about the Gullah language being used by Africans in the 1800s. So we understand they get all the accolades, they get the notoriety, but then it's our story. When we look at even our foodways, look at the food. Like, here go what people call red rice. We know that's jollof rice or jollof rice. Hey, that comes from West Africa.
True.
That's our food. When we talk about perlo, we talk about these dishes, again, it's tied to us. Gumbo, that's us. When we talk about African cuisine in the United States, guess what? It's tied to who we are, but you call it American cuisine. You give all the stuff, again, taking it from our people, now claiming it for yourself and making millions off of it. No one's saying anything. With regards to, just when you say like fabrics, clothing, when we look at all this, we are doing this. just the genius alone that with regards to how, I should throw this out there too, that our ancestors, when we're looking at in Charleston County, in Georgetown, in Horry County, when we look at rice plantations, guess what you're looking at? Mathematical genius and astronomy and engineering that comes into play. But folks not acknowledging that in our circles, but in other circles, they acknowledge it and they make it feel like it came from them. When I'm like saying, no, they're not stealing, appropriating your culture, your genius, your knowledge, your intellect.
Dr. Toure was so hot, he's getting hung up a little bit. I know he'll come back in a second, though. Y'all, I hope that everyone, there you go. But you back, Dr. Toure?
Yeah, the image is that they are the ones that had created this. When I'm like saying, no, you are the ones that created this right here, and you got to stand firm and not let that be known. That's why I would say infusing it in our minds of our children when they are babies, so that even if you think that they're rejecting it, still have the seed planted in them, because there's going to come a time that now, because you put that positive information in them, it's going to sprout. It's going to be nurtured. We got to do that. And then even with regards to our elders, have our elders understand there's no more shame with regards to any of this, that you don't look at other people. When you talk about when we go to our churches, that when we begin to understand that the house of God, how we are praying, what we are doing in the house of God as African people, that is the African foundation that got to come through this Gullah Geechee experience right here. We are, as I tell folks, the holy land of African America. This area right here is the Holy Land of African America, not Jamestown, Virginia. It's coastal Georgia, coastal South Carolina, and northern Florida. We are the ones. And that when our people begin to understand.
When our people understand and we take ownership of it, then we can move forward. Then we can create generational wealth. And I know Dr. Toure is hung up just a little bit more, but he'll be back in a second. And I think people need to understand it. This is how we build generational wealth. We have to acknowledge who we are, and what we created, and the opportunities that are available to us. And as the Gullah Geechee Chamber of Commerce,
then they begin to see our value.
Go ahead. I know he's going to come back in, because we do. If we know our value, then we could create wealth. Oh, we lost Dr. Toure, but he'll come back in again. Once we know our value, once we recognize who we are and take ownership of that, then we can move forward as a community. We can create generational wealth, because our abundance is here. A good friend of mine who started a community garden this year, and she started the Gullah Preservation Society, Miss Zenobia Harper, actually said, we were standing in her garden, and she said, we lost you, Dr. Toure, but I just started updating. I was telling them about, I don't know if you know Zenobia Harper, but she's with the Gullah Preservation Society here in Georgetown. Great artist, just great knowledge of our community and our history and who we are. And we were standing in the community garden she made this year. And what she said to me is, said, Marilyn, this is where our abundance is. This is our abundance. That we can walk out and grow what we grow. And we don't have to run in the grocery store for everything. And this year I started a potted garden. My okra's in there. And guess what? I took that okra and gave it to my aunt 2 or 3 times this season, and she made gumbo from it. That is our abundance. That's why we have to take ownership of who we are. Because once we get ownership, we can work, we can move within this space that we've been forced into, of that Western society. But we've got to go back. We've got to listen to the ancestors and understand who we are and recognize the abundance that we already have. And then take that, and that allows us to move and create generational wealth so that we don't lose our land. So our children are educated. And it's not just speaking to our children. We got to show our children. We got to do it, folks. You got to take something and show your kids, even if it's growing a garden in your yard. I mean, that goes back. How many of our grandparents grew gardens in the yard? I grew up with folks giving that, sharing the eggs, bartering, sharing the eggs, sharing the abundance. We've got to go back to that. We've got to go back. And one thing with climate change, and I've been saying this, it is the Gullah, it is the indigenous people who are going to save us. Because we have to go back to what is our inheritance when it comes to the land and to the water. And if we don't do that, climate change is going to take us all out. It don't matter if you're black, white, or whatever. It's the indigenous people who are going to save us. And Gullah Geechee, we are the indigenous people of this coast. And we've got to own that. But Dr. Toure, go ahead and finish what you were saying before we lost you, so we don't lose you again.
Yeah, the thing said move maybe closer to the router, so that's why I came a little closer to the router from out the office area. But basically now, obviously, you jumped into something that we were going to get to, that with regards to farming, doing urban farming. Even if you're in urban environments, we need to do urban farming, and that especially, and now what we need to be doing, because again, we have to be about not just talking about and I'm going to say fussing about certain things. We now have to go. When we say show, we now have to implement policies. We have to make our elected officials now implement policies with regards to some of the changes in the various ways. If it's from the gentrification issues, cultural protection issues, to also with regards to urban farming. That again, because some of our towns,
Oh, it's getting good. There we go. Go ahead.
All right. Well, what happened is that the towns, they have lots. They have lots, and they're just sitting there. Why can't we not go and engage in urban farming? And that's how I say, why we can do that. And again, guess what? You're able to not take care of the needs of some of the people. But then I also threw something else out the folks. I say, but also, what about urban fishing? So with regards to farms, with regards to fishing, that we have fish farms, that we can do. Because we have some water, we have some ponds in our areas. That here you go, we saying our people not during this time of COVID, that we cannot go and set it up so that now at least we know that the food ways of the people are going to be taken care of. The food needs of the people are going to be taken care of. The food security issue is going to be taken care of. So we don't have to now go and be concerned about people starving. That nutrition, that we are playing a role with regards to that. And then, hey, as I said, policies with regards to elected officials, with regards to our governments, but then also when we have these social service agencies and organizations, these nonprofits, when you're trying to find something, so you're looking for grant monies, look for grant monies that will then assist with regard to that. Imagine what you can do if you feed the people, because you can't have a revolution if you can't feed yourself. So Excellent. Guess what? You can't have a community if you can't feed the people in the community. If people are starving physically, guess what? That's a problem. And then that leads to other issues too. So I'm like saying, no, let's start making those moves. And so when you said that, I like came back on. I'm like, yes, that's why I want to throw out the folks. And that, but again, it's about us now, not just talking about amongst ourselves, that we now go and begin this political process. Some of us going to say the policies can't change nothing. Yes, it does, because guess what? You're in the condition right now because of politics. So we got to take an active role in this, and we have to be voices with regards to this right here. And that even if you don't want to run for office and you say it's a dirty business, guess what? You not be the power behind the throne. That's what you do. But some of us, as I say, good people sit back and be silent. And when you are silent, that's complicity, what's going on. So you can't complain if you're not being actively involved in trying to make the change.
That's why I started the Gullah Geechee Leadership Institute. We just announced it last week. And it's going to be focused on developing leadership to advocate for policies and issues that impact the Gullah community. Because we've got to be in the fight, folks.
That's right.
Dr. We cannot sit back and say, oh, that's dirty. Where there's a lot of stuff that's dirty in this world, maybe you need to be in it so you can clean it up.
That's right. That's right. That's
Instead of sitting back talking about it's dirty, you know, we need to be part of it to clean it up. Look at it from that direction.
That's right.
And about the food and the water and what you were saying about the fish farms, that is so true.
Yes.
We can do this, folks. It isn't hard.
That's right.
And use the tools that are available to us. Guess what?
Right.
Be discerning and go online and Google. When I did my garden, there's some things I knew over time that I learned and talking to other people. But what I didn't know and I needed to know quickly, I would go Google it. You would be amazed that's out there. Use the tools. Because that also is our inheritance. Our minds were our tools. But before the end of the slavery, the enslavement, the tools were different. But it still used the number one tool is your mind. And we are already ahead of the game if we take ownership of that. That's why John Wright said we Gullah people are the most creative and resourceful people in this country. And that is so true. Because everything you just said, we can do. You can do the urban farm. You can do the urban fish farms. You can do the beekeeping. I believe Jennifer posted up there. We can do all of that because we've already done it.
That's right.
You know, we can make our own paper.
Right.
It started in Africa. Why can't we make it? And you know what? And everything that you just cited, the abundance is right outside our doors.
That's right. That's right.
Just step out and just you make paper from grass. You make paper from leaves. You just got to learn how to just convert it to another use. That's all. And that's what we've always done. We've made a way out of nowhere. And that's a beautiful thing. And we need to take ownership of that. I want to remind everybody while we're here, and we're going to be wrapping up in 5 minutes because we're just over an hour, that you are watching A Gathering Place, brought to you by the Gullah Geechee Chamber of Commerce. And we've had a fascinating show today with Dr. Toure and Queen Quet, who had to leave us because she had to go take care of some business. And that's another thing, Dr. Toure, I want people to understand. Take care of your business. Learn how to do the business of being in business. And that's why we're teaching some classes also, because you know we live in a capitalistic society, and Dr. Toure, you already said it. We got to learn how to work those papers, the paperwork. A lot of us, we work underground, and I understand why for historical reasons, but when you're above ground, you will have relationships with banks, you will have your paperwork in order, and a lot of us missed out on those PPP loans and grants because we didn't have our paperwork in order. This is the world in which we live. We got to learn how to take the abundance of our culture and community and use it to maneuver in the world in which we live. That's how you clean it up. You know, that's how you clean it up. And that's why we're here. I do what I do with the chamber. You do what you do, Dr. Toure, down in Savannah. And believe me, I've been down there. So next time I'm down there, I'm calling you. We're going to get together. And there are other folks out here doing the work. We need to support each other and continue that. And thank you, John. It is an awesome discussion today. Better than I thought it would be, and that's a good thing. So thank you. Dr. Toure, I'm going to let you have the last word. What else do you want to share with us? And you're going to come back because we got to talk about gentrification. But I'm going to have you back now.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I share with folks often, I say that it's not about ego, but it's about we go. Again, not ego, we go. We go to success. We go together. We build that. We have no shame. When I see you, I understand that you and I have a connection that other people in this world will not understand and don't have. And so for that, then I need to work with you and what efforts that you have going on, what are noble efforts. I might say that the vice versa. So that's what we do. That our success is not based on ourselves. It's based on other people. You achieve your greatness not by yourself, but because other people help you along the way. And because of that, then you turn back around to help others also. You do what you can to help others now achieve success. And that's how we build, as I said, ultimately get to liberation. And that when we go and bring it down to the smaller parts of what the gods are being, Gullah Geechee people, that's what we look at. We look at taking care of the entire area. That we just go and compartmentalize, because that's when they get you, when you compartmentalize. You think what's happening to you in Jacksonville, North Carolina, is not the same thing happened to you in St. Augustine. The stories are the same. When we begin to break those walls down, we understand that, listen, we all come together. And that when we come together, as Queen Quet throwing out there, then guess what? I'm not going to let anybody cause any harm to you all. So, because again, we are family. The family looks out for family. And so again, we make sure that we don't have that jealousy and that envy in our hearts towards one another. We look at saying how we need to have this happiness, this joy that you're being successful. And what can we do to help you further successful? And then in turn, you don't be selfish enough to say it's about you. You didn't say, okay, how can I help you? We collaborate with one another, that we spend our monies with one another, and we talk and promote each other. So yes, people understand that, listen here, we are truly a family, and that we are protected all the time because there are no enemies within us. Because guess what? They can't do nothing on the outside.
That's exactly right. And that's actually the best way to end this show. I want to thank you, Dr. Toure, for coming. I don't need to say anything else other than this Sunday is our political show. We will have Jamar Brown, who's originally from Charleston, South Carolina, on, Brandon Upson, and we'll have a special guest, Jim Felder, with the Gullah Geechee Leadership Institute. He is the lead advocate. So I encourage everyone to come back at 4 o'clock this Sunday to A Gathering Place. And I do want to say this. Why did I name it A Gathering Place? Because it has a culture and has a community. We gather together and we have conversation. We gather in the barber and beauty shops. We gather under the tree. We gather at church. We gather in the front porch. We gather around the table in the kitchen. So in honor and love towards my community, I named it A Gathering Place. And I invite everyone to be back with me every Sunday and Wednesday at 4 o'clock. Dr. Toure, thank you for joining me today. It is wonderful to meet you. I'm so glad you came. This is a hot show. This is a hot show. We might have to have cultural appropriation part 2.
That's fine. We always game.
Very good, very good. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you for the comments and the questions, and we will see you this Sunday at 4 o'clock. Have a wonderful day, and thank you, Dr. Toure. We will see you next time on A Gathering Place.
Thank you. Appreciate it.